Hi, my name is Zach with Dude Minis. I'm the dude, and this is a mini. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, and this video is going to be a little bit different from my other videos. I'm not going to be exploring any techniques or miniatures today. I'm actually going to be taking the time to sit down and tell my story from the beginning of how I found Warhammer and how Warhammer found me, and the journey along the way, and what it's taught me, where it's brought me, and where I hope it brings me. But to do that, we need to take a step back in time, way back to 2003. I was about 12 years old at the time, and I was on a church trip to the Mall of America with my mom and a buddy. After about 20 minutes of following my mom around, she pretty quickly realized that we weren't so easily entertained, and she allowed us to venture off and go find our own entertainment. Pretty quickly, I stumbled upon something really important, and I didn't yet realize it. We were on the second floor, and we approached the rotundra, which, if you're unfamiliar with the Mall of America, I'll show a picture that as I approached the railing of it, you could see down through, and it was hundreds, I mean, it might as well have been thousands of tables, and it was a giant Warhammer tournament going on, and there were a bunch of people playing, a bunch of people watching, and it was the middle of the weekend. It was absolutely crazy. Amidst all that, we made our way downstairs and got as close to one of the tables as we could. After, I'm sure, what looking back was probably a super annoying little kid bugging a dude that was having the time of his life in a Warhammer tournament, he pretty cleverly told me, "Hey kid, just so you know, they sell this stuff upstairs on the third floor in a store." Now, I didn't even let him finish, and I ran. Me and him ran upstairs. He followed right behind me, and we began our search. And fortunately for me, we had finally found it after, walking around 3/4 of the mall. But we found it, and it was easy to find because it was the only store that had a whole bunch of parents with a bunch of little kids and a bunch of people kind of my age now standing outside of it, and it was a toy store. The toy store's name was Air Traffic. I don't really know if Air Traffic is around anymore. I don't think it is. But back then, it was a store that sold things for like frisbee golf. It sold, light board games, kind of novelty gift kind of things. And in the very back of that store, they had a whole wall dedicated to Warhammer stuff. And kind of right towards the entryway of the store to pull you in, they had a display case full of beautifully painted miniatures. Finally found them. But there was still a problem. And that problem is kind of a problem that's always kind of been around with Games Workshop products, and that's the price. I was a 12-year-old kid. My mom saw beautiful painted miniatures in a display case that, of course, I showed her. And she saw boxes and boxes of these models on the store shelf, and you needed to build them, and you needed to paint them, and they didn't look anything like they did on the box until you made them look that way. And so naturally, she looked at me and said, not today. I think that, you should talk to your dad and maybe he can bring it back and, you guys could pick something up. So, I was devastated. I had come so close. But my mom did the smartest thing that she ever did looking back now, and she made it my dad's problem. So, I went home and I bugged the out of him. I'm brutally honest, I bugged the out of my dad because I was obsessed. I saw them and they were the coolest thing I had ever seen. So after 2 of what were the longest weeks of my childhood, my dad finally caved, and we went to another mall that also had an Air Traffic store in it, and much to my surprise as a 12-year-old, he was too shell-shocked by the prices for the models at the time, and my dad knew about how much artistic ability I had in me as a kid, and he was smart. It wasn't about the starter box, it was about give him something to make him happy. So my dad helped me settle after 30 or 40 minutes of very patiently and normally shopping for a toy. So I finally settle on a box of 20 Imperial Guardsmen, and we grab a can of spray paint, a couple hobby tools for putting models together, and that was it. We walked up to the counter. I was the happiest kid I had ever been in my life. He looked me dead in the eye and asked me if I wanted a bag. Like, I wasn't going to look at the models, like the whole 30-minute drive home and just drool over the box art. Looking back, I don't think he deserved to work there. He wasn't near as excited as I was. So I make it home, unbox my minis, terribly assemble them, terribly prime them, and then all they saw was Warhammer with little army men and Lego guys and Connects, and they were the only real kit that I had as a kid, and that's the way it would be for quite a while. Warhammer and I had officially broken up. Well, not really broke up, more like had a one-night stand with toys. But I did manage to enter the hobby with perfect form, buying one kit, building all the models, priming them, and then never touching them again. So about 6 years of time pass. I allegedly grew up, I got a full-time job, and I was jonesing to splurge on something. I got invited to a trip to the Mall of America again with a different group of friends, and about an hour and a half in, it dawned on me. Warhammer. I had found myself back in air traffic, but this time, things were different. I was reckless. I was young. I had a bank account. So after completely ditching my friends and spending about 30 or 40 minutes perusing the new models and everything that was available, I finally settled and I picked up the Assault on Black Reach starter box set that featured the Space Marines, Firstborn, and the Orcs. I plowed through those models so fast. Now, of course, I picked up other things too. Tools I didn't need at the time, paints I hardly used or finished at the time. But I was in. I had bought my first box, I dove in, I was an adult playing with toys, but I didn't care. When I saw this for the first time, they were adults playing with toys. And that didn't matter to me then, and that sure doesn't matter to me now. Now, at this time, I have to be completely honest. I didn't make the best choices when it came to the circles I was in and the people I hung out with. It created a lot of stress in my life, and it really kind of turned me into a homebody. And the time I had to myself, I wanted to be out of my own head. I wanted to have something that allowed me to be creative and didn't really have any limits. Now, I've never played Warhammer up to this point either. This was just a game that had cool miniatures that I thought would be really cool to spend some time and paint them and try my best to make them look decent. Now, everybody who's painted a miniature knows that your first miniature you paint, it doesn't turn out great, and that's totally fine. Not everybody finds the hobby the way that I did, but I'm sure there are some out there that use this as a huge coping tool for stresses in their lives. I can't express enough how much I think hobbies are important. I think that it's really strong and important for character growth and for yourself to just fail. Something that you want to do and is hard teaches you way more about yourself than you will ever learn by being successful. Successful is that's the prize. But the failure is where you learn everything. So after Assault on Black Reach got about as done as I was going to call it at the time, I set my sights on other miniatures. I had bought miniatures for Chaos Space Marines, Orcs, regular Space Marines for Blood Angels and Dark Angels, Chaos Demons, Tau, Tyranids. I couldn't stop. After about 2 years of that, I did stop. And I stopped for quite a bit. It would be a few more years until I picked up a model or a paintbrush again. But when I did, the world had changed for me a little bit. I had picked up something that, up until recently, I didn't really have a care for in the world. A smartphone. And on that smartphone, an app you've probably heard of. YouTube. So my new obsession began. I was obsessed with watching a ton of different channels, anything from mini wargaming to blue table painting to Beasts of War, Jawa balls. Now, after a long time of building models and watching YouTube videos in my basement, I finally decided to give the rest of the world another try. And so, Warhammer got shelved again. But fortunately for me, it wouldn't stay that way forever. And about 4 years ago, which would put us at about 2017 or 18, I found myself in what had been the best position ever. I was in a new relationship with someone that was unlike anyone that I'd ever been with. And she saw what I got out of that hobby. And for the first time in my life, I had a partner who was supportive of my hobby. This time I managed to find someone that allowed that side of me to flourish over the past few years. And she's also been one of my biggest bodes of encouragement. And I think that that's kind of what drew me to being here. I've always valued YouTube content. I think that it's a fascinating beast, and I've always been afraid of just trying. And today, in this video, marks the end of that. For so long, I've been trying to figure out, what is it? What is it that makes a channel so good, and what is it that makes me so scared of trying? And it's failure. But like I said before, in our failures are our best lessons. And I am nowhere near done learning. And I hope you aren't either, because that's what this channel is going to become. Over time and over a lot of hard work, I hope to create something really special. I've conquered what has probably been one of my biggest hobby hurdles over the past few years in the course of the last month creating these 3 videos. And I have to say that I've learned a lot. It's been a pain in the butt. I think I have about 3 terabytes of wasted footage on my phone that I had to go through to make this video. I think I've technically been awake for almost 30 hours at this point in this part of the video. So if my eyes seem like they're falling down towards the ground, sorry. So finally, after many compliments and words of encouragement from newfound friends in the hobby and those who I spam their phone with pictures of my miniatures that I paint for the last few years, thank you. And I did it. I took my leap. So let me ask you, what's stopping you from taking your next big leap in hobby or in life? Leave it in the comments below. If you've made it this far, thank you. And if you can tolerate my voice and the kind of content I have, hey, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the little bell for a notification. You'll know when I post my next video, which will be very soon. 1 hobby video per week. But that's all for now. But until next time, deuces. But next until time. Enough, what brought me back to Warhammer was the mold. Look at the script. What does the script say? The mini.